Hello everyone, this is Mr. Darius again, your business teacher and business consultant, and today we're going to continue our journey in the history of, let's say, performance management, production management, motivational theories that is deeply rooted in the American culture, but has impacted all of us from all around the world. And now that we have understood Taylor's theory about the economic man and how only money counts, or counted at that period of time, we now go a bit further and discuss about other important factors, another breakthrough motivational theory, which is the theory of Mayo. Okay, so Mr. Elton Mayo, and before we discuss any further about his theory, we should take a step back and look a bit of the history that is behind this. So we're talking about 1880, 1949, which is, of course, post Taylor's theory. And he was an Australian psychologist, and researcher. He was quite a gifted guy, amazing academic results, and actually his breakthrough came after 5 years of intense research in US. At that time, if I recall correctly, there was a factory that was producing for equipment for what is known today AT&T. So his result ended with what is known as today the Hawthorne effect. So the Hawthorne effect. The entire conclusion of this experiment, this 5 years experiment, was that when we talk about job satisfaction and motivation, okay, what makes people tick over here is their participation in decision making, and not necessarily, because he studied this very intensely, not necessarily short-term incentives. So in order to understand how he got to this conclusion, we'll have to go a bit through the experiment. So initial approach was that the experiment should focus on two directions which was believed to have the highest impact on productivity. So the highest impact on productivity at that time was believed to be by what is known today as working conditions. And by working conditions here, I mean, let's say, breaks, temperature, light, location. So these would be some examples of working conditions. And number 2 would be the financial reward system. So what they came to realize is that, of course, while conducting this experiment, they would make changes either in the working conditions or in the financial reward system, and they would discuss before doing so with all the workers so that they would be prepared and try to identify how these would impact in terms of productivity and efficiency. And what they were actually hoping to discover was that any positive change they would make over here would actually result in a positive change over here. And of course, motivation. Okay? But the surprising result of the experiment was that you would have fluctuations. Okay? So you would have situations in which productivity would go up, but you would have situations in which productivity would go down. And it didn't have to do with the fact that they would add some minuses in terms of working conditions or financial rewards. It's just that they did not receive a constant feedback, making them have second thoughts in terms of working conditions and financial reward system being the most important motivators. Okay, and since they started changing and their focus on other things that actually are crucial for employee motivation, and how they got over here is because they came to realize and see the following conclusions. So motivation went up when employee, yeah? The employee's motivation went up when managers would take an interest in the employee's life, work, problems. So if managers would start caring about this and actually asking and discussing with them and going through the same experience with them and understanding the challenges, you would see motivation, having a spike. Then they were extremely motivated to have two-way communication with the managers. So it wouldn't be a one-way communication in which you just give orders and that this is how you do it, you only do it this way, you do it my way at that time in this method. So no, they would drop this. They would say two-way communication. I would like you to take this approach in solving this problem. Do you think there's a better approach over there? Would you like to try this method? And if it doesn't work, perhaps you could apply a different method or take your experience and try to solve it. Another thing that motivated was working in teams. Teamwork would actually imply having, well, at that time there wasn't a department manager, but we're going to come back to that in our conclusions. But you would actually have to have an informal leader. So what is an informal leader? An informal leader is a person that not necessarily has an official status or an official position within the company's chain of command or span of control or hierarchy or let's say within the official paperwork, but is highly respected by people around him or her and is influential and actually has the capacity to lead. Now, these are one of my favorite type of leaders. Whenever I discover them within a company, I make sure that even if we don't make this official, because most of the times these people don't want to shine, don't want to be over there in the light. But even if we don't make it official, you find a way to keep them motivated, because these are, let's call them the underdogs that are performing there in the shade, but they are responsible for the entire mentality of that department, if not the entire culture. So I would be very careful when it comes to identifying these informal leaders. And this informal leader would actually lead a team. Yeah, he would actually establish goals. And he would be very close to members. Okay? So working in teams and having an informal leader over there that would act as nowadays as a department manager, was something that actually generated a spike in the motivation of the employees. And I think another one would be, I would say, some sort of control. So having some sort of control, but this has to do more with over your working schedule. And let me give you some examples so that it actually makes more sense over here, like when to take breaks, or when do you start your work day, or when do you take a holiday. Yeah? These are some sort of control that back in those times it would be, quite a luxury, but nowadays we just look at it and take it for granted. But it was something that was a breakthrough at those times, and this is how we actually come to conclude that Mr. Elton Mayo over here could be seen as the founding father of what we know today as worker participation or involvement. Hence here participation in the decision-making process being the crucial thing that actually brought job satisfaction or motivation. And this is not all. He could also be seen as the founding father of having business departments. Business departments with, of course, department managers. Back in those days, they didn't use these technical terms, but nowadays they are widely known, and as I said, they are kind of taken for granted. But there's an important history lesson over here, how we switched from the pure economic man model that Taylor was promoting, saying that only money counts, to come and realize after a 5-year experiment within a factory that it's not just money and working conditions that matter, is also the relationship with the managers and the colleagues and the owners that actually have a huge stake or a huge say when it comes to our employees' level of motivation and satisfaction. And giving our employees a voice and the ability to step in, to communicate, to solve issues, to have some sort of control over their lives and working schedule while they are at the workplace could only lead to positive results. Thank you very much for watching this video, and don't forget, if you have any queries, just drop me a line and I'll help you pull it through.